Hello, welcome to a video's journey, and we're going to be actually making this into part of the podcast as well. So welcome to a video's journey, and also the podcast. I've always tried to figure out how to combine the two because I've always done a separate podcast from the show, and that's fine. It worked to a point, but I find that doing two separate ones constantly makes it very difficult to get the content out, right? Because I've always felt weird doing the same video slash with the podcast, but that's how the majority of people do podcasts these days. You know what I mean? They film it as well as doing the podcast instead of doing it separate, because it's like you're doing double the work. So we're just going to be combining these. Nothing's really going to change other than it's just going to be for both of our audiences here on YouTube and on the podcast. So really excited about that. Today's topic is something that is come up recently. I get this question an awful lot. I've talked about it a little bit today on our shorter form videos, but I wanted to address it and kind of go into detail with it. And that's this idea, can I start a voiceover business with not a lot of money? Now, this is a hot button topic a lot of times because, there's always a question, should you start any business without a lot of fun, without adequate funding? Should you go into voiceover or anything at all without having funds set aside, et cetera, et cetera? How much do you need? Do you need to have a lot? Should you even start if you can't afford a high price demo or a really expensive microphone and a whisper room or studio break? Should you do it? And that's kind of what I want to chat with you today because, I started very, very inexpensively. I never forget, I went to Best Buy and I was looking around because I had no idea what mics to get. Interestingly enough, I've been in theater my whole life, but I'd been live theater. So, all the mics and things I'd worked with, I'd worked with like Sennheisers and Shure mics that were lapel based, right? And so, I didn't, because I did live theater, so I never had condenser microphones that we used for recording like we do in voiceover. So it was kind of like, well, what mic do I get? And I didn't have a lot of money, so I went and bought a $40 microphone from Best Buy. It was a Blue Snowball mic. I knew it was USB, and I thought, I could plug it right in my computer and I'd be set. And it also had, the 1/4-inch thread on the bottom. So I thought, oh well, you could hook that up to a mic stand. You know what I mean? And which, by the way, it was hilarious looking at this thing on a mic stand, right? If you know what the Blue Snowball is, it's literally a ball, and you put it on a microphone stand. So, anyways, so I got that for $40. I already had a computer. I already had a desk and everything like that. Fortunately for me, my mom had gotten me like a $200. It was like my birthday, right? In 2017 is my birthday. My mom had gotten me a gift card to Lowe's for like $200 for my birthday. And I went and I bought PVC pipes with the connecting elbows to make a rectangular shaped booth, right? That was about, I bought for the $200 at the time, I was able to buy enough material for a 4x6 booth that was about 6.5, 7 feet tall. I'm not super tall, so it doesn't really matter. But anyways, so it probably wasn't 7 feet. It was probably more like 6.5 or something like that. Or maybe even 6 feet, because it didn't need to be very tall, because I'm like 5'8", 5'9", so it's not that. Anyways, get off topic. So I bought that, and I bought some packing blankets, right, to go in these little cheap plastic clamps, you know what I mean? And I had this duffel bag at home, this big green duffel bag, like those military duffel bags. And so that was my entire setup. Fortunately, because I was also a teacher at the time, I had a subscription for the Adobe suite, and I didn't know this, but Adobe Audition, right, was a DAW, and So I learned with Adobe Audition because I had already been, it was already part of my being a teacher that I had subscription to that. So, anyways, I had basically everything I needed to get started then for like $40, and the $200 gift a card from my mom for my birthday. So basically, I started with nothing but that, and I learned voiceover and ran my business through doing auditions on ACX because it was free. I didn't have to pay to join. You didn't need a demo, and you could just audition and get offered contracts. That's what I did a lot. I did a lot. I got my first book in May, and it was then beginning of May, and then it was published, I think May 15th or May 14th, on Amazon. I think it was you can actually go, guys, if your laugh so hard because I had no idea what I was doing when I first started. Like my narration was, you listen to it. You can go and listen to it actually on Amazon. You just go Anthony Pica and it'll pull up like the books that it's under my name, not the pseudonyms, but under my real name. And because I didn't know you could do pseudonyms at the time or anything like that. So I just used my real name, as the narrator. And it's funny to go back and listen to how horrible it was. And it wasn't so horrible. It was just, I had no idea what I was doing. Every book sounded completely different. I always was trying to figure out how to do it. Anyways, so getting back to the topic. By the way, this is a journey. If you're not getting where I'm going with this, which is, why I named my journey of VO's journey, right? Because this whole thing is, you start somewhere where you are. You start where you are, and it's a journey, right? And you grow along that journey, but you have to start. So getting back to this idea of how much money you need. You don't need a lot, clearly. I started with very little. But there's a but here, and this is important, okay? You don't need to start with a lot of money. However, and I learned this, and this is important because I've coached now, I think, thousands of voice actors. I've done thousands of voiceover jobs. I've had really an amazing voiceover career so far. Very blessed over these last 6-7 years. But through all of that and all that work and the having multiple studios now, and now where I am now building, built all this my own studio, right? Because over there is the studio, right? This is my editing space and everything. So after all that, what I realized is that, yes, you can start with very little money, but you have to be aware that by starting with very little money, you're not going to play on the same level as other people who have better equipment, who have more training, who have professional demos, who have well done studios. Okay, and of course the experience behind it, but you're not going to be on that same level, and nor should you. You're just starting out. But I find that what happens is a lot of confusion, I think, gets with people is they think that they are supposed to be on this same level, right, with their with everyone else, even if they have, starter type gear. And it's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to work your way up, right? So with that also comes understanding that there's only going to be certain types of work that you're probably going to get to start. Just like me, I wasn't getting, this year or this past year has been quite a year. I've done a lot of, this has been like my sports year. I've done commercials and work with the Minnesota Vikings. I've done work with Prime Video for the football season. I've done so much this year. And in the past, so I would never have imagined with what I had when I was starting out, ever even coming close to, getting to that place where I would have ever been considered for jobs like that. Yes, the training, my equipment, all of that stuff has played a major role in me being able to play on that field with other people. at this level, right? Whereas when I first started, I had to do what I had to do just to get work because people weren't going to hire me with what I had. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. But I see a lot of voice actors getting down on themselves because they think something's wrong with them. They should be doing more. They should be getting more work, something, and you've got to give yourself a break. I always say that the equipment you have, whether it's a USB microphone or a $5,000 microphone like I have now, I started with a $40 microphone, right? And now I have, a $5,000 microphone. There's a journey there, okay? But I know I can't say it out loud. It sounds weird. But the thing is that I have seen many voice actors think that they need to work harder on their audio. Something's wrong with something's wrong with their equipment. And the reality is that when you're starting out or when you have beginner level equipment, the equipment can only do as much as the equipment can do. Right? I think we blame ourselves for a lot of stuff that we don't need to blame ourselves for. Right? Meaning a microphone is only going to do as much as that microphone can do. You can push it as far as it'll go, but when you're trying to make it sound better than what it'll sound like, you can't. There's nothing you can do. In post, we try to do we try to do so much to our stuff in post if we feel like it needs to be different, or better. And the reality is like I said, most of the time you can't do any more than what you can do. You can't push your microphone and you can't push your equipment beyond what it is. I mean, sure, you can do a little bit, but I'm saying, if you have a $200 microphone, it's going to sound as good as a $200 microphone is going to sound. Well, it's probably not going to sound as good as a TLM 103, right? Or a Sennheiser 416, all right? And or then move up to like a U87, right? And then, into like my microphone, right? Which is a Silver Manley, but, reference mic, but or tube mics and all these different microphones. And once you get past, you don't need those super microphones, although I do love the way mine sounds, which is why I got it. But you don't need, I had the Sennheiser 416 forever, and the TLM 103, these are kind of like industry staples. But again, the point is you push your gear as far as it'll go, but don't beat yourself up about it. Don't beat yourself up about it. You can't do more than what it can do. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's an important note. So when you're going to get jobs, when you're, that's why I was very happy starting with audiobooks. You listen to audiobooks. You could tell a lot of audiobook narrators, incredible people, very great actors, not always the best gear and equipment, not always the best sounding recording spots. You hear some of them, you're like, where did they record? In in a can room or something, right? You could tell, and we're okay with that, listening to that in long form, because typically when we listen to audiobooks, although some of it's starting to change a little bit more with the audio dramas, but 90% of the time audiobooks, we are listening to just the voice actor, no background music, nothing, just them talking. So, we get used to the space that they're in and the sound, and we don't worry about that sound, right? So I think it's something to think about when you're talking through, is it, am I able to get work in this area or that area because of my space, because of my equipment, because of my treatment, et cetera, et cetera. I think audiobooks is a great place to start. I will admit ACX is not the same place as it used to be. It's been riddled with challenges on, who has the rights to stuff, et cetera, who's publishing things, et cetera. But it's still a great place to get started, right? And also, you could even get started doing, free work on, for audiobooks on, what is that? Where there's a bunch of audiobook places that you can do stuff for free, just to give back to the community. But I always like to do ACX because I'm like, hey, I might as well have an opportunity to get paid for it. But there's also royalty share there as well that you can get, and that's how I got started. You know what I mean? Most of my books I've started were all royalty share. Made a couple bucks from them, not a lot, but that was a start. there was a lot of learning and experience there, realizing things, learning. My first pop filter was pantyhose and a wire coat hanger. I'm not kidding you. And literally, my wife. My wife's like, "Geez, how about use pantyhose?" I mean, literally, I was so proud of myself. I thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread, because you can, you undo the wire coat hanger and you can wrap it around your mic stand, and you can form a little pop filter, and put the pantyhose. I thought it was so. I had a blue snowball mic, this round ball on top of a pole, on top of a mic stand. It wasn't a boom arm mic stand. It was just a straight up mic stand with pop filter, pantyhose, pop filter. That was good. You listen, that in a packing blanket PVC pipe hobo fort is what my family called it. They said I was going in my hobo fort. This is what built the journey to start, and you can I smile because it's so funny. I have all of this stuff now, but looking back on that, it still makes me smile because I was so happy to have what I had where I was. You know what I mean? Because I'd found a way to make it happen with very little. I mean, like I always joke too. I remember my wife telling me if I didn't make any money in my first month, she told me I would have to take my microphone back to Best Buy. It's so funny, right? Because voiceover now, of course, has changed my entire life. The trajectory of our family's life forever, right? But at the time, my wife was like, "Oh God, here we go again. You're not spending a lot of money." And then some of us too feel that way, right? Maybe we do have some money, but we're not necessarily willing to spend a lot of it because we don't know if it's going to work. But either way, I hope this is kind of just made you think about if you and even if maybe you are doing voiceover right now and you're questioning, should I spend more money? You know what I mean? Should I invest in training? I would say if there was one place that you should invest in, hands down the most, and that is training. With a coach, with an academy. And I always say, whether you choose to work with a VO's Journey Elite Academy or not, find coaching, find training, find a mentor, a group of people that you can lean on, that you can see what's happening, what's going. There is a huge jump in your trajectory when you are, seeing or getting education about what's happening, where to go, what to do. Also, too, you might not even know what you need to buy next. And that's where training and stuff helps you as well. But don't forget, you do still need to invest and pay, right, to invest in your business. Businesses cost money. The goal of business is to make a lot more money than you spend, right? But you still have to spend money. And that's the whole point. You have to start and you have to spend money. I spend thousands and thousands of dollars every single month on running my business. It makes way more, but I have to, but it takes money, right, to run something. And hopefully our job is to turn that into the ability to make a lot more money. But the point is you start where you start. Just be okay with what that yields you. Don't be mad at yourself. You know what I mean? Push your limit or push your ability and your equipment's ability to what it can go. And then until you can start making the next investments, that's okay. But just be okay with where you are. Don't get down on yourself like something's wrong with you. Okay? It's the next phase of your business, the next phase of investment. Hope that makes sense. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching today and listening to the podcast. And please, as always, make sure that you subscribe. Check out, especially we're going in 2024. It's a great opportunity to get some training. You know what I mean? And VO's Journey Elite Academy has been something that's changed my life. And I can't say enough good things about it. Just the community there, the training. Right, the whole point of helping you become successful as a voice actor in every aspect on the business side, because I love marketing and business just as much as I've been an actor and an acting coach my whole life. And I have my degrees in acting, et cetera, et cetera. So, listen, you guys, thank you so much. You have a wonderful Tuesday. I will talk to you all soon. Goodbye, everybody. Peace.